Uh, Gusto ko sabihin part 1 kasi hindi ako sigurado kung magkaka-part 2 tayo pero for now, part 1 lang. Uh, Ito yung lecture natin on random Python tips, turning English into a programming language. Medyo assorted yung mga topics dito kaya ko siya tinawag na random pero I hope you'll get something from it. So yung first nating pag-uusapan is reading the documentation. Kasi like legit, ito yung talagang best friend mo yung like standard library. Kasi if there's anything that you can get from this lecture, ito yun. Kasi like, yung standard library of any programming language is the building block of any program. As in, building blocks yun. Parang imposible kang magsulat ng maayos na program kung hindi mo alam yung library. It's that important. Parang natulan ko yun through the years kasi like, after learning multiple languages, doon ko na-realize na much of the language is not really the language itself. It's more on the libraries that you use for it. Yung mga built-in stuff na whatever. Kung hindi nyo naman kaya pang i-memorize yung standard library by heart, you should at least have enough familiarity with it. Na to the point na kapag stuck ka sa isang problem, you know exactly what and where to Google. Parang kanari, stuck ka sa isang sorting something, at least alam mo na Google mo na lang Python, sort standard library or something. And then like, another thing na gusto ko ring i-mention is, before you implement something, gusto kong tanongin nyo parati sa sarili nyo na, is there a built-in module for this? Parang, kasi if you try to manually implement something all the time, masayang lang oras mo. Kasi instead of tackling the real problem, tinatackle mo yung parang something that's already been solved by the library itself. So sayang lang oras mo. So yung point ko is to not reinvent the wheel. Parang the standard library is there for a reason. So, which is why I apply this 5-step process to domination whenever I learn a programming language. So step 1, learn the syntax. Kasi that's the simplest part. Seriously, and that's the simplest part. Titignan mo lang yung syntax mo. And then the next part is to explore the standard library. Kasi, as mentioned earlier, much of the language is the library and not the syntax. And then after that, just practice and apply, repeat, and then the final step, ito yung pinaka-important, profit. Yun lang yun. Re-repeat mo yan. Pero, how does one even explore the language itself? So, there's a simple way to do that. Pupunta ka lang dito sa Python Standard Library. Tapos, pagdating mo dyan, check ko lang, paano ba to? Pwede ba itong ayun, pwede nga. Okay. Titignan mo lang yung Python Standard Library, tapos mag-scroll ka lang. Parang no intention with anything. Parang babasahin mo lang for the sake of reading it. Kasi yung point nito is, kung titignan mo lang yung mga stuff dito, wow, may built-in types pala siya dito. Eventually, kapag nabasa mo to lahat, not in a sense na i-memorize mo lahat, pero kapag nabasa mo yan lahat, or at least skim through it, may realize mo, wow, meron pala silang module dito, tapos the next time you encounter the problem, at least familiar ka na kung saan mo i-google yun. Kunwari, dito ngayon ko lang nalaman na, recently ko lang nalaman na may fractions palang module. Nagpakahirap pa ako dun sa isang problem dun sa OJ. Yun pala may module na para dun. So yeah, yun yung point ko. Kung nag-skim through lang ako, tapos nakita ko, wow, may fractions pala. At least ngayon, alam ko na. So yeah, ito yung tip ko. Mag-scroll through kayo dito. Eventually, may makikita kayong function na sobrang promising. Kunwari dito, wow, may CSV parser pala yung Python. Tapos biglang dito pala, wow, may curses. May curses. Curse yan. Yun, meron pala, may multi-threading pala dun sa Python, di ba? Yung ganun, yung kapag may na-encounter na kayo, may realize nyo, sige, Google ko na lang siya ulit. Tapos tignan ko how exactly to use it. May queue pala sila. Nice. Ang dami palang modules sa Python, no? Wow. Oh my God. Oh, wow. Nakapunta na rin sa dulo. Ang dami na. Hindi ko na-expect actually. Nakita ko yung scroll bar dito, pero hindi ko na-expect na ganito pala karami. Anyway, skim through it. And eventually, kapag na familiarize kayo sa isang pangalan, may recall niyo siya, tapos i-google niyo na lang. Don't memorize it, pero at least be familiar with it. And yeah, that's it. So ngayon, makukuha niyo yung link na yan dito. Take this link to heart. Yan yung bread and butter mo sa standard library. Okay. So ngayon, the next one we're going to talk about is the cardinal sins of iteration. Cardinal sins kasi talagang malupit to. Medyo naaasar ako tuwing nakikita ko yung mga ganito. So ngayon, mapapansin natin sa lahat ng mga problems in programming, it's usually concerning iteration. Parang imposibleng magkaroon ka ng problem na hindi involved yung iteration kasi, diba, usually we're dealing with a lot of data points or a lot of data. Diba, parang since when ka nagkaroon ng OJ problem na walang for loop, it's that important. So ngayon, yung point ng section naman na to, papakita ko lang sa inyo na 4 deadly sins of iteration. Pero it's not all of them, pero just to give you an idea on how to not properly use them. So, what's wrong with this code here? Tingnan lang natin, what does it exactly do? Ay, saan nga ba tayo nag-chat? Sa general ba? Or sa...
print yung array, di ba? Parang, yeah.
Yeah. So, yung ginagawa niya is, pinaprint niya lang from 0 to 2, right? 0, 1, 2. Pero kung babasahin mo siya, 3 lines of code yan na parang, di ba, parang it doesn't look good. It doesn't look right. Yung kasi, yung point ko dito is, parang, kung mag-Python ka, parang sobrang anti-pattern yung mag-index-based iteration ka. As much as possible, refrain from using this. I mean, syempre mag-apply lang, hindi dito nag-apply kapag kanwari gagawa ka ng sorting algorithm. Kasi yung sa sorting kailangan mo tignan yung indices and whatever. Pero as much as possible, avoid natin yung ganitong type of iteration, yung index-based. So of course, yung reaction ko lang dyan is, stop it, get some help. Yun lang yung masasabi ko talaga dyan. So the correct way to do it is this. Gagamit kayo ng iterators. Don't do the manual range, index, whatever. As much as possible, use iterators. Yun na yung end of discussion there. Pero if you really insist on using yung mga indices, might as well gumamit na lang kayo ng enumerate. Kasi that's what it's there for. Yun yung point niya. At least ngayon, mas malinis siyang tignan na. So, yung next one, ito medyo maraming guilty dito. Yung sin number 2, yung tinatawag kong append accumulation. Yung usual na pattern niya, magsimula ka with an empty list. Tapos, meron kang for loop. Tapos, isa-isahin mong i-append yung elements niya. At the surface, it looks innocent. Wow, it's very readable. Pero, kung titignan mo siya, magka-process ka pa ng 3 seconds dyan, ano ba yung ginagawa ng code na to? Tapos biglang na-realize mo, gumagawa lang siya ng array. Yung ganitong pattern is widely considered to be an anti-pattern sa Python. Solely for this reason, it's difficult to read. Imagine mo kapag meron ka ng mga statements in between, meron ka ng mga if, then, if, whatever. Tapos dun sa dulo, numbers.append. Diba? Parang, yun lang pala yung point mo. Gagawa ka lang ng array. Tapos biglang meron ka pang whatever's in between. So, the better way to do this is just one line. Wow! Diba? Wow! Yung point dito is, most collection types, like yung lists, sets, dictionaries, tuples, or queues, or stacks, or default dictionaries, or whatever, they support iterators as an argument. So if you have a chance to give a container type an iterator instead of doing this manual business, just do it. Do it. But this applies to with yung list comprehensions and whatever. Pero I have another discussion for that. So yeah, as much as possible, even though the 2 examples here are semantically equivalent, this is the better way to do it. Like this one, as much as possible, use an iterator to collect items into a collection. Like, parang redundant, pero yun yung tawag dun. So yeah, yung next one naman is premature accumulation. Nakakatawa yung pangalan, pero that's what I want to call it. So, tanong ko lang, anong ginagawa ng code na to? So, kanari, sa simula, meron tayong list of intervals. Tapos, isa-sort natin. Tapos, kapag na-sort na natin, i-join natin by a space yung starting number and then print natin. So, 1, 7, 12. Pero that's not the worst part. Yung worst part dito is, yung tanong ko ngayon, how many lists are there? So, ngayon, dito papasok ano tawag dito? Dito na papasok si Quizzo. Ito yung tanong ko sa inyo. How many lists are there? Ay, joke lang, hindi niya nakita. No, don't look at the JSON. No, hindi niya nakita. Nag-start na ba yung bot? No! Iyak. Hindi gumana sa Quizzo. Why? Oh no. Ay, online ba siya? Check ko nga. Wait, what? Nandito ba siya? Wala siya dun sa bots area.
But wala rin siya sa user list.
That's weird. Teka lang may lectures channel na pala na hindi ko nakita.
Ayan, he's back. Binigyan ko siya ng Nugget Army role.
Oh, kaya pala. Oh, shoots. Sige, try ko dito Huwag niyong tignan yung link kasi nandyan yung mga sagot. Tignan ko kung gagana. Yun, okay. Yan, react na lang kayo. How many lists are there? 2, 3, 4, or no lists? So, mayroon kayong time limit na 30 seconds and bumoto na lang kayo. Medyo wala siyang timer pero isipin niya na lang na 30 seconds yan. Wow, buti ang daming nag-react. 3 times up. Wow, congratulations to these 3 people over here. Si Dre, si Jelly, at si Ellis. Nice. So, nakuha nyo na... Sige, explain ko kung bakit 3 yung lists dito. Including yung example, sorry, I didn't mention. So, ito yun. This is the better way to do it. Ay, joke lang. Sige. Ito muna yung first list, the example, list number 1. Pero kung titignan natin, meron siyang sorted, tapos example. Yung sorted, it returns an entirely new copy of the array, pero sorted. So medyo problematic na yun. We have 2 arrays that are doing the same thing. Ay, hindi. They're not the same thing. Pero we have 2 copies. Yun na lang sabihin natin. Tapos dito sa dulo, gumawa pa tayo ng panibagong list that simply converts all the tuples into a stringified start. So now we have 3 lists. Tapos ito-join pa natin. So yun yung problema dito. Kung meron tayong mga problems sa OJ na memory limit exceeded, most likely ito yung problema. Kasi gumagawa tayo ng masyadong maraming lists. Gumagawa tayo ng unnecessary accumulation or premature accumulation, if you want to call it that way. So the solution here is to do this. Kapag hindi mo naman kailangan gumawa ng bagong kopya ng list, just sort it directly, like example.sort. Yan, that's enough. Parang hindi mo na kailangan ng bagong kopya. And dito, medyo subtle yung difference. Pero sa join, wala na yung brackets, yung square brackets. Kasi sa square brackets, ang ginagawa nun is, parang sinasabi mo sa Python dito, na kunin mo yung iterator na to, tapos mag-pause. Pause ka dyan. Hanggang sa makuha mo lahat ng elements niya, ilagay mo siya sa list, tapos dun mo lang siya ibigay sa join. No? So parang medyo mabagal yun kasi hinihintay mo munang kunin lahat ng elements. Whereas here, ang ginagawa nito is, since join accepts an iterator, it doesn't have to be a list or anything. We can directly pass it the list comprehension, tapos ibibigay niya one by one yung elements, i-yield niya, in other words. So instead of doing this as one time, big time, na ibibigay niya sa join, Ito, isa-stream niya lang. Parang no list needed. Isa-stream niya lang yung result. So ngayon, yung advantage nito is we only have how many lists? We only have one list compared to 3. Diba? Parang, wow, magic. Magic. So do we have any questions there? Kasi parang medyo malupit yung optimization na yan. No? Ang daming kasalanan. Okay lang yan. Learning experience yan. Malaman nyo rin sa sa standard library, may mga stuff dun na nakasulat na some functions accept iterables. This is exactly yung point niya. Yung fact na pwede ka na lang mag-pass ng iterator directly rather than a list. Kasi a list can be an iterator. I mean, parang trivial lang yun. Pero if you can just pass off the actual iterator object and rather than a list, diba? That's better kasi stream mo na lang yung data. So, yeah. May times na mas okay daw si sorted. Yeah, kunwari dun sa anong pangalan nung, it was one of the first problems. Yung talagang nahirapan ako dun yung gumawa pa ako ng nested for loop na whatever. Ano nga ba yung pangalan ng problem na yun? Yung team rankings, yata yun. Yun yung kailangan mo ng sorted. Pero in most cases, refrain from using sorted kasi it generates an entirely new copy of the array. If you can, just sort it right then and there. You don't need a new array. So yeah, from 3 arrays to 1 array, and that's much better. And much faster too kasi compared to here na kailangan mo pang i-collect yung lahat ng elements niya. At least dito, naka-stream na siya. Stream na yan. Parang isa-isa niya na lang i-yield. Okay? Do we have any questions there? Na-DP ko yun and followed. DP meaning dynamic, no? Cool. Honestly, di ko pa rin mag-get yung mga dynamic programming na ganun. I have to practice that. Pero at least there's a point of improvement. So, do we move on na? Or my questions pa on this example? Uy, pwede yan. Paturo daw ng DP. Pwede. Sige, move on na ako sa last cardinal sin. Ito naman yung misuse of the standard library. Kunwari, ang goal natin is kukuha tayo ng random element from a list of numbers. So the normal way we think about it is we have some numbers, we generate a random index, and then we print it. Hooray! Problem solved. Pero misuse to kasi kung hindi natin tinignan yung library, hindi tayo magiging familiar sa better way to do it. There's always a better way to do things, especially sa Python. And the better way is with choice. And from random import choice. Tapos choice numbers. Wow! It's much cleaner. Wow! That's much better than ever. Diba? Hindi ba na kailangang isipin yung random index na whatever. And yung entire point ko dito is yun pa rin, babalik tayo sa original slide natin dun sa simula. Read the documentation. Parang just look through it kasi eventually you're going to encounter a function like choice na biglang magic na, wow, how convenient. Hindi ko na kailangang isipin yung other stuff. So, yeah. Meron bang ibang questions dyan? Grabbing numbers yan. Yes. Mga special numbers yan. Get that 30, bro. Okay, sige, let's move on to the next section. Properly named variables. Kasi if you want your code to read like English, then you have to at least follow some naming conventions. In yung main point ko dito. Kasi kung yung code mo, hindi ka naman gumagamit ng variables, sure, you can argue that it might be faster kasi reasons, pero at if you're going to sacrifice readability for that micro optimization, parang, ang iffy niya, it's not something the Python community would recommend doing. So ngayon, ito, bibigyan ko kayo ng table. Ito yung golden table ko of how to name my variables. Kung meron kang constant, like constant meaning a literal value that will never ever change, kanari here, in this case, pi, golden ratio, kanari number yan, pangalan niya siya with uppercase and whatever. Kasi yung point ng naming convention na to is, isang tingin mo lang sa variable name, alam mo na kaagad kung ano yung behavior niya. And that's very important if you want to make your code very readable. So ngayon, kung normal variable lang siya, gagamit ka ng snake case, or kung trip mo, mag-camel case ka, that's fine. Nobody really minds. Tapos kapag boolean, name it in such a way na nagtatanong ka, kanwari, is it disjoint? Or parang, has admin privileges? Or yung ganun. You have to make it a question. Kasi a yes or no question, that's more accurate pala. You have to make it a yes or no question. Kasi at least dito, siya lang yung may convention na question yung form niya. Tapos kapag nakita mong question siya, alam mo na kaagad, ay, boolean yan. So I have to treat it like a boolean. Tapos dito, kung collections, like a set, a list, tuple, or whatever, gumamit kayo ng plural noun para sa variable nyo. Kasi it just makes sense. It just makes sense, to be honest, na plural siya kapag may collection. Kung function naman siya, verb yung gagamitin nyo. Kasi yung function is like a command. You're commanding the computer to do something. So, kunwari dito, get user by ID. Tapos bibigyan mo siya ng ID. So, yun lang yung point ko dito. Tapos kung may class ka, medyo special yan. Hindi siya tulad ng variable na snake case or camel case. Ito, Pascal case siya. Para ma-differentiate mo siya sa normal variable. Kasi hindi siya normal na variable. It's a class. Actual blueprint yan. So, do we have any questions for that? Okay. Yung table na to, medyo summary lang siya nung entire article ko dito. It's called the Grammar-Based Naming Convention. If you want to look into it, send ko yung link dito. It's basically a much more in-depth look at whatever I said in that table. Pero yeah, yun lang yun. Ito yung link if you want to look for it. Pa-plug ko na yan kasi kailan kong i-plug yan. Para may views yung article. Matagal na yung article na yan actually. Na ngayon ko lang na-realize na wow, sobrang useful niya pala. Okay, so ito yung link. Balik na tayo sa table if you guys want to look at it one more time. Kung constant, make sure na sinisigaw mo. Constant ito. Diba? Isigaw niya yan. Constant. Kung variable lang, okay, sorted numbers. That's it. Sorted numbers. Pero kung boolean siya, tanungin mo, yo, yes or no ka ba? Diba? Ganun. Tapos kung collection, plural, kung verb, command yan, and then classes. It's, nilagay mo lang ng uppercase yung simula. So, yeah. Okay. Sige. Moving on. Hindi. We're not moving on yet. Papakita ko lang sa inyo ng example of how bad it can get. This is actual code from my Aling Len and Mang Rod problem. Nakakaiyak. Honestly. Nakakaiyak tignan yung ganyang code. Kasi even though it's correct, kung titignan mo siya, you don't really know what's happening. I mean, past kamay na lang kung sino yung kayang basahin yan in one swoop. Tapos, gets ko na kaagad. Kunwari, ignore niya yung pangalan ng function. Kung titignan niya lang yung isang buong statement na yan, what the hell kayo dyan? Ano yan? Ano tong code na to? Diba? Oh my lord, ano yan? Ano tong code na to? Hourglass. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Okay. So ngayon, yung one simple way to improve this is to just use variables. Diba? Just use variables. It's going to read like English. Like literally. Return if it is okay with west, or okay in east, okay in north, or okay at south. And that's it. It's reading like English now. Ngayon, you can make the argument na this code here is much faster kasi sa Python, yung OR operator, nag-short circuit yan. So kapag true yan, hindi niya na-evaluate yung others. So parang short circuit na kagad. Whereas here, i-evaluate niya lahat. So parang i-isa-isa na yan kasi interpreter yung Python eh. And then dun niya lang i-evaluate yan. You can argue that. That's a valid argument. Kasi lang medyo micro-optimization na yun. And as I said earlier, kapag gusto mo maging Pythonic yung code mo, you try to refrain from micro-optimizations. You try to favor readability rather than micro-optimizations. So yeah, kasi kung performance talaga yung habol mo, hindi ka magka-Python eh. Shade yun. Ay, ano raw yung short circuit? Sorry, hindi ko na-explain. Yung, kanwari dito, kapag naging true to, yung part na yan, mag-stop na yung Python, i-ignore niya na to. Hindi niya nababasahin yung rest of this. Pero kung false yan, it's going to continue, and then kung false to, continue pa rin. And then kung true na to, and then return true. Same din sa end, pareho din yun sa end, pero medyo baliktad. Instead of short-circuiting kapag true, mag-short circuit siya kapag false. It's the same logic. Para maging mas performant siya. Pero dito, i-assign mo yung statements na yan, tapos isa-store mo siya into a variable. Tapos only then, i-evaluate mo yung condition na to. Which is definitely less efficient kasi nga, you're evaluating everything up front instead of short-circuiting na ganito. Pero then again, mas readable to. So, we often favor this over this. So, yeah. Paano yung sa EQ mo nun? Mamaya yan. That's the next topic. Yeah, that's the next topic actually. Exactly the next topic. Wag diagonal code. Yes, kung may makakuha kayo dito, wag mag-diagonal code. Okay, so ngayon, yung next section natin, ito yung parang pinakahihintay ni Dre, ay pwede rin naman mag-follow ng line breaks and indentation to. Yes, pwede rin. Yun nga lang, hindi ko alam po ano yung convention, so pwede i-separate yung return statement into several lines. Gagamit ka ba nung backslash for that? Kasi hindi ako aware kung paano yun gawin. Backslash lang ba siya? Ay, paano ba siya? Basta may or na... Honestly, di ko alam Sige, we'll look into that in a bit. Sige, we'll look into that later. Okay, so yung next section natin, yung favorite na ni Dre, yung object-oriented problem solving, or as I would like to call it, oops. Oops. Para maalala nyo kaagad, oops lang yan. So, anong point ng object-oriented problem solving? So, you're going to look at a problem, and then you're going to think of it as its sub-problems. So, okay, sure, what's new, di ba? What's new? Pero dito, kapag mag-object-oriented problem solving ka, you're going to look at how each object, quotation mark, quote-unquote, each object in the problem interacts with each other. So kung kanwari doon tayo sa example nung, let's say, kay Mang Rod at saka kay Aling Len, yun yung sinasabi ni Dre kanina na example Yung ginawa ko doon was I wrote a class na it's basically a plot class. Tapos nandun lahat ng information, yung x coordinates and whatever. So that I don't have to manually interact with yung mga index 0 or index 1 or whatever. Yun yung point ko. And then you're just going to combine the objects together and then you're going to solve the problem that way. So with oops, ang mangyayari dun is, hindi mo na iisipin yung lower level stuff. Hindi mo na iisipin yung index or whatever. Isipin na lang yung object mismo. Kung nag-intersect ba sila or whatever. So, ito yung, tawag dito, here are the key steps to achieving oops. As I said, you identify and deconstruct the subproblems. And then you imagine each object in the problem. As in like, medyo abstract yung idea, pero it can be anything really. Kung kanwari gagawa ka ng physics problem, gumawa ka ng class for kanwari a physics, a rigid body, kanwari ganun. It can be anything. So yeah, write a class for it. And then you implement its interactions with other objects. Kanwari, let's say, ano bang mga recent OJ natin? Yung intervals? Yeah, yung intervals. Kanwari, gagawa ka ng class for an interval. Tapos meron kang start and end. So at least ngayon, you're only interacting with an interval and nothing else. Hindi mo na kailangang isipin yung index 0, your index 1, or whatever. Yun yung next example actually natin. And then finally, you compose and integrate all the objects. So parang yun yung technique. You think of the problem as a separate object and then you try to solve each object individually. And eventually, kung na-integrate mo sila lahat, they're going to work together and they're going to solve the problem. So, sige, let's do an example. Ayan, use the interface to solve the bigger problem. So, ito yung example ko para sa optimization. Yun ba tawag din sa problem na yun? Yung basta mag-merge ka ng intervals. So, gumawa ko ng class, interval, tapos, para mas ma-apply lang natin, gumawa ko ng class dito, interval, with a start and end. And then, ito medyo important to, yung wrapper. Yung wrapper dunder method, kapag sinabi mong string, ay kapag ginamit mo yung stir function, ito yung gagamitin yung function to convert it into a string. Kaya useful to. Hindi ko na kailangang isipin to. Diba? Parang sabihin ka lang, convert the interval to a string. Diba? At least ito, straightforward na yan. Tapos ito, yung constructor niya is, well, it's very trivial. Self.start equals start. Self.end equals end. So do we have any questions for that? Ano yung assert? Yung assert, keyword yan sa Python na kapag false to, magka-crash yung program. So, kaya ko nalagyan ng assert para siguradong start is always less than or equal to end. Para siguradong tama yung assumptions ko about the code. Medyo to be honest, you'd think na pangit yung code na to. Lagyan nyo ng assert kasi magka-crash siya. Pero that's exactly the point. You want the code to crash. Kasi as soon as it can crash early, at least dun, alam mo na kaagad kung saan yung bug. Diba? Kung tumama yung error na to, yung assertion error, at least alam mo na kung saan yung bug. Or at least malaman mo na hindi pala tama yung assumptions mo. So I highly recommend this, yung assertions. Pero kapag gagawa ka na ng production code, usually tinatanggal to Tina-comment out mo. Kasi medyo may performance hit to. Especially kapag dumami. Pero in general, don't think of it that way. Micro-optimization din yun. This is just a way to assert something that's true. Ano yan? May makukuha ka bang info kung alin na assert ang nagpa-crash? Yes, may message siya sa interpreter. So, kunwari, yung mangyayari dito, sasabihin niya parang, yeah, ay magiging detailed siya. Parang sasabihin niya, assertion error, start is less than or equal to end is not true. Parang ganun. Magiging ganun yung message niya. So kapag nag-crash yung program mo, huwag kang malungkot. Dapat mag-celebrate ka kasi, wow, there's progress. At least, alam ko na tama, alam kong mali yung assumptions ko. Yes, makakatulong siya sa edge cases. Rather than using the if statements and whatever. Kasi at least yun, sanity check siya. That's what I would like to call it. It's a sanity check. Yes, yun din. Lalabas din kay OJ na may assertion error. So kung may assertion error ka from OJ, at least sigurado ka na, okay, nandun siya sa part ng code na yun. sana all pag mag-crash yung response mo. Ganun yun. Each crash is one step forward to the goal, di ba? Ganun yun. So yeah, may iba pang questions dyan? Oo, tama. May point si Michael. May mga times kasi na value error or type error yung ibibigay or index error. That's okay, pero mas useful yung assertion error kasi at least dito, parang sinisigurado mo na kung ano man yung ina-assert ko, tama siya. At least mas accurate siya in that sense. So yeah, that's a good thing to note. So yeah, eto, nasasimula pa lang tayo ng class na to. Let's move on to the next method. Yung next method ko is disjoint, di ba? Well, ito siya, it takes in a self and other. Kung disjoint yung dalawang interval, then I'll just return true, di ba? Kung hindi siya disjoint, then, di ba? Logic. Mag-logic na lang kayo dun. And then yung next one, ito yung merge function ko. Ay merge method. Yung merge method na to, it uses the is disjoint method. So ngayon, it reads like English. If self is disjoint from the other, return false. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya successful merge. So otherwise, we're going to merge the intersecting intervals. So basically, self.start gets the minimum of this one. Self.end gets the maximum of this one. And then return true. Return true meaning successful yung merge. May gets ba dun? Straightforward naman, no? Kasi, I don't know how to tell this, pero like, if this doesn't look like English to you, hindi ko na alam. Self is disjoint other. That looks so clean. And simply because of this part, yung may disjoint tayo dito. Anyway. So, looking at it all together, sa sobrang linis ng class implementation, it actually fits into one slide. And that's my point. If you can encapsulate the logic of one specific area of the problem, yung sub-problem, then you're only concerned about that sub-problem. So ngayon, I'm not going to show the rest of the code, pero you can imagine, gagamitin ko yung class na to gagamitin ko yung class na to, yung interface niya, kung baga. The interface is basically the public methods, kunwari, yung is disjoint, yung merge, and so on and so forth. Yung later on in the problem, ginamitan ko na siya ng if a.merge b, then pop off the stack. Kung hindi naman, edi keep merging the rest. So, ganun yung logic ko dun. Okay, so, ano pa? Iyan na ako sa brute force spaghetti code. Instead na isipin pa logic ng disjoint when merging. Yes, exactly. Yun yung point that I wanted to get across. Na instead of manually putting it here, at least dito, it's more readable kasi tinitignan mo to as one unit, yung code na to. This is just one unit of code. Ngayon, you're going to go one level higher of abstraction. Tapos sabihin mo, if self is disjoint from the other, ngayon, you're not thinking about self.end or other.start or whatever. You're thinking of, is it disjoint? And that's yun yung core ng OOPS. That's how you think of it na in a more object-oriented manner. Each object in a problem has its own operations that you can do with each other, and then you just do your own thing. Compose mo na lang siya. So yeah, ito yung favorite ko talaga kasi it literally fit in one slide. Nung na-paste ko to, tuwang-tuwa talaga ako nun kasi wow, sobrang testament yan. And yung fact na may comment po, may kumasya pa yung comment. Yun yung talaga natuwa talaga ako. So yeah, we can end this section with this quote I really love. Like, if talagang just take this to heart, program to interfaces, not to implementations. This is the core of software development. You're going to, in this case, yung kapag sinabi nating program to interfaces, we're thinking of the interfaces of this class, kanwari, yung is disjoint merge, we're not thinking of the specific implementation. Yung kanwari, yung self.end is less than this one or that one. Like, that's a bad idea. Never think about the implementation. Think of the interfaces. Ito yung point ng quote na yan. Program to interfaces and not to implementations. May nakakuha ba na? Ano ulit daw? Program to interfaces, not to implementations. Sinasabi lang nun is, if you're thinking of a problem, you approach it by not thinking of the specific, kanwari, yung specific implementation niya, yung self.end, other.start, or whatever. You think of it in terms of the interface. Kanwari, yung is disjoint, yung merge, yung repr or something. Iisipin mo siya in terms of the operations you can do on the object instead of yung, ano ba yung index nung element na to sa, ano ba siya, zero width? Is it less than the length of this? No, parang no. No, don't do it that way. You think of the interface. I-assume mo na correct yung implementation. Kasi otherwise, di ba? Parang kung mali yung implementation mo, di ba? Parang may mas malaki yata problema mo nun. Pero kung you think of the interface and then you assume the implementation is correct so that when you put everything together, they're going to work through the interfaces. So parang yung main code ko dun sa optimization, ang mangyayari niya is nag-merge na lang siya. Parang sabihin ko lang na a.merge b, b.merge c, and so on and so forth. Hindi ko naiisipin yung if a.end is less than b.start or whatever. Parang, no. Bad idea yun. If I did it that way, I am programming to the implementation kasi I'm looking into the lower level part. The important part here is yung merge. Parang, I don't care how you do it, basta merge mo na lang. Yun yung point nun. You think about the interface rather than the implementation. So, yeah. Wait lang, backread lang ako. Ang dami. So do it step by step na readable instead of all at once. Yes. Pretty much, yeah. Iko-compose mo siya in the end. Nag-OOP mahirap na. Ooh. Implementation ng data structures, katulad. What's a Fenwick tree? My God. Complicated na yun. Mga deep computer science na yun. Hindi ko pa yun alam. Okay, sige. So, I think that's the last part. Yung last section. Wait. Do we have any other questions for this one? Ano ulit tawag kapag di mo titignan yung implementation ng code? What do you mean? Yung kapag hindi mo titignan, you're programming, yung interface. That's the interface. Abstraction, yeah. Yun yata yun. Yeah, yung mga ganyan. Yeah. So, yeah. Yun yung point nito. Take this to heart. This will be our core tenet forever. Program to an interface, never to the implementation. So, yeah. The next and final section is never settle. Really, kasi Pythonic code is supposed to read like English. Parang you should have a mindset na I'm sure there's a better, more Pythonic way to write this. And it takes practice. Kasi you're going to have to look at the standard library. Titigan mo yung what's the best way to do this in Python. And obviously, if it looks wonky, then yes, it definitely is wonky. So kailangan mong palitan yun. Kapag may nakita kang index-based iteration there somewhere, sabi mo kaagad, there's probably a better way to do this. Pero kung wala talaga, then, well, sorry talaga. we have to live with it. Pero kung wala, the best way to do that, the best way to tackle that is just put it in one function so that yung mga consumers ng code mo titignan na lang nila yung function. Hindi na nila iisipin yung mga weird stuff inside. That goes to this again, yung programming to an interface and not to the implementation. So yeah. Code must be read like English. Importante sa akin, nababasa ni OJ. Yes. Actually, may point ka dun. Tatsulok, oh my God. Sa math pala, mahirap na yun eh. Me na puro index-based iteration sa Lab 7. RIP, bro. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. Okay. So, moving on. Ito na yung conclusion natin. Recap of everything we talked about right now. So, first one, read the documentation. Kasi, well, not really read. Sige. Parang medyo over yung word na yan. Not read, more of skim. So that at least you'll be familiar with the existence of a module for it. Kasi kung if you encounter the problem, at least confident ka na, there's probably a Python module for this. And then I'll just use it. And then the next one is to avoid the cardinal sins of iteration. Marami pa yan, pero ito yung mga prime sins talaga. Yung index-based, yung append accumulate, tapos yung premature accumulation, and then the misuse of the standard library. Yan yung mga parati kong nakikita sa mga code na na-send nyo. Especially talaga to, yung append accumulation. Talagang favorite na yan. Kapag sa C++, wala tayong magagawa. Talagang append accumulation yung kailangan natin gawin. Pero sa Python, since we don't need to do it, don't do it. Yun lang yun. And then, the next one is to properly name your variables. Kung maganda yung variables mo, then your code will automatically read like English. That is a guarantee. Pero syempre naman, huwag niyong gawing sobrang mahaba yung variables or huwag niyong gawing mga one letter lang yung variables. I mean, there are some variables na you can make into one letter. Kanwari, yung I or AD, kanwari ganun. Pero as much as possible, refrain from those one-letter variables kasi mahirap siyang basahin. Hindi, kasi para siyang flowchart ni Sir Z. Mahirap basahin. Huwag niyang gawin yun.
Grabe, may
seryoso.
pagkakasumbong kita kay Sir.
Hindi, pero seryoso talaga. Seryoso talaga. If you want to make your code readable, refrain from one-letter variables. So yeah, and then yung fourth one, oops, program to interfaces, not to implementations, and never settle. Yun yung 5 topics natin ngayon. And I would like to end this presentation with yung tinatawag nilang the Zen of Python. Ito yung tawag dito. Ito yung every Pythonista, parang ito yung pinipreach nila parate whenever they write code in Python. And meron siya, it's so ano tawag dito? It's so foundational to Python itself na kung pupunta kayo sa interpreter ngayon ng Python, let's say dito, meron silang built-in dito ng Zen of Python from the Python interpreter itself. If they import this, ito yun. This is the Zen of Python. It's a poem actually by Tim Peters. Sabi niya, beautiful is better than ugly. Explicit is better than implicit. Simple is better than complex. But complex is better than complicated. Lupit. Ang laki ng big words yun. Flat is better than nested. Medyo important yung part na to. Kasi ito yung reason kung bakit ko sinasabi na maganda kung nag-short circuit yung code mo. Kasi kung hindi nag-short circuit yan, inevitably, meron kang nested ifs or nested for loops or whatever. Flat is better than nested. Sparse is better than dense. Ibig sabihin, use white space whenever necessary. Readability counts. Ayan, readability counts. Special cases aren't special enough to break the rules. So guys, rinig niyo yan ha, they're not special enough. Although practicality beats purity. Okay. Errors should never pass silently. Ibig sabihin nun yung mga assertions natin, dapat nag-error yan, kina-crash nila yung program. Kasi kung hindi siya nag-crash, mas malaki yung problema mo. Unless explicitly silenced. Yun yung difference. In the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. Ibig sabihin na, siguro yata, 5 lang yung index nito. Parang, once again, explicit is better than implicit. You have to be sure. There should only be one, and preferably only one, obvious way to do it. Ito yung Pythonic na sinasabi nga. And although that way may not be obvious at first, unless you're Dutch. Okay. Now is better than never. Although never is often better than right now. Whoa, lupit na. Now is better than never, although never is often better than right now. Oh, procrastination. If the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. If the implementation is easy to explain, it may be a good idea. It may be. Hindi ibig sabihin may class ka, maganda na siyang tignan. Kung maganda talaga siya, then it's a good idea. Namespaces are one honking great idea. Let's do more of those. It harkens back to properly named variables. So yeah, yun yung Zen of Python. Take it to heart. And don't memorize it, pero medyo maganda yung mga lessons na ina-impart nila. So yeah, with that said, thank you for listening. Do we have any questions? Send link sa documentation. Yes. Sige. Stop ko lang yung screen. I can turn it on again kung may magtatanong tungkol sa slides. Si Tim Peters ba yung Tim Sort? I think so, yeah. Di related sa lesson, but anong gamit mo to make the PowerPoint? PowerPoint. May libreng PowerPoint yung yung UP. Para yung code nyo magkaroon ng highlighting sa PowerPoint, literal na ika-copy nyo lang siya sa VS Code, tapos ipe-paste nyo siya sa PowerPoint. Make sure nyo na lang na i-preserve yung formatting. Ayun, wow, ipin nyo yan. The Zen of Python. Kung nakalimutan nyo, just import this. Tapos, alam nyo na agad. Medyo may part 2 pa yata. Hindi ko na pag-usapan yung kasi nawalan na ako ng... Gusto ko nang matulog nun eh. Gagawan pa sana ako ng isang buong section sa favorite modules ko sa standard library, pero for part 2 na lang yun. Akala ko pinag-isipan mo talaga ang kulay. Hindi, walang syntax highlighting yung PowerPoint. Yung ginawa ko, nilagay ko yung code sa VS Code. Tapos kinopy ko siya sa isang text box. Tapos I made sure na it kept the source formatting. Kasi kung na-keep niya yung source formatting, may colors na siya automatically. Tapos yung background ng slide, minatch ko na lang siya sa background ng VS Code ko. Nagkakaroon siya ng blue background? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Akala ko kailangan mo i-manual. Pero that's what I did. Kinopy and paste ko lang siya from VS Code. Yung ayaw ko sa snipping tool, image siya eh. So kapag nag-zoom in ka, ang pangit niyang tignan. Kaya ang ginawa ko, kinopy and paste ko talaga yung mismong code para like HD na HD talaga siya. And yun nga, maganda nga yung output. So, it was worth it. Paano mo kinode yung vertical code? Yung text box, pinaste ko, tapos binaliktad ko yung, nirotate ko lang yung text box. That's how I did it. Kasi may rotation yata na widget yung text box sa may upper, I think. Yeah. Ito rin, yeah, this is good. Yung sa carbon. Tapos lang, I don't really like it kasi image siya. Unless may SVG siya. Kung may SVG, then great. Pero kung image lang siya, mas maganda pa rin yung i-paste pa na lang directly. Oh, SVG siya? Whoa. Actually, I might consider that. That looks good. Sige. It might be good. Okay, so at least alam ko sa part 2, pag-uusapan na lang natin yung, siguro sa next reading break na lang yun. Sa next reading break na lang yung favorite modules ko sa standard library. Kasi kailangan ko rin i-advance yung mga, ay hindi, technically hindi nga advance eh. Kailangan kong habulin yung CS31. Ay, summer na. Ooh. Ay, meron pa? Ooh. Interesting. Anyways, guys, remind ko lang, open source si Quizo. I'm open to pull requests kung gusto niyo matunan kung paano mag open source stuff, yung sa GitHub and whatever. It's done in TypeScript, so hopefully medyo familiar na kayo sa JavaScript nun, pero it's pretty much the same thing. Or if you're going to read it, it's not gonna be so bad kasi it really looks like Python. Meron lang siyang curly brackets. Reading break ulit next week. What? Joke lang. Yes, actually, that's the reason kung bakit tumaas na yung production value ko. Ano na lang, atawag dito, utang niya lang for sa face-to-face na. Kanari kung pamabili ng pansit or ganun. diba? Ganun na lang. Uy, naks, may web dev pa. Kung gusto niyo mag-crash course tayo sa sa Node.js or sa Deno. Well, actually, mas madali yata sa Node.js. Yeah, sige. Or probably, try natin mag-Django. Pwede rin yun. Why not, no? Why not? Sige, okay lang. See you later, Dre. Thank you for listening. So, yeah. Kamusta naman kayo dyan, guys? Tapos na yung natin. Lab stack. Lupit na.